previous project, Ryan Mitchell, based up in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metro, was on it as well. So we met up for dinner and checked out some of the kit he's got. This is a dual battery plates, male-female, to run a Teradek. He's also got a gold mount version. I'm checking these out because I think I'm just going to make my own for my electro receiver and make a second one for my current Paralinks, and then I could potentially even nest both of them on the back of the camera. I like that idea. I think I can do it versus buying a pre-built. I know there's a few options on the market, but they're kind of limited. It seems to be more options in V-Lock than what I need in gold mount. So with my TIG welder and basic metal fab skills, this will be a nice little side project for me some weekend. 7:22, Dallas, Texas. Picked up an additional day while I was already up here. News assignment, starting with some B-roll, the 8 a.m. Catholic Mass. Working for EWTN, Catholic News Channel, out of Washington, D.C. A little bit in the dark today on the story. Figure it out here as it unfolds, but unfortunately I don't think it's a happy story. This is another example where I would prefer to be on a ENG camera, 2/3 inch sensor with a 18:1 zoom and doubler, so I could remain in one position and be discreet, kind of get my wides, mediums, and tights without invading in people's privacy. But we made it work. I just had to walk around and be quiet. One of the general guidelines with journalism, although I'm not formally educated in journalism, but I've been doing it long enough, is you don't really ever want to do a take two, because then you're kind of altering someone's statement or documentation of the event. So it moves fast. And first, setting up this interview, I didn't put a lot of thought into my aperture. So I think we started off at about a 5.64 split. I'm like, the background is so soft, can't really make things out. So second question, I rolled in some more ND, stopped down to an 11, but you can see here, it's still kind of soft. I'd like the background to be a little sharper. I think this was my first news assignment with the picture profile settings I dialed in a previous video, the Rec 709 with a little bit of customization to the matrix and a lower black level. You'll see the off-air edits coming up. A few MOS interviews. I just use my Rode Go mic for these. I want to get the Electro wideband block transmitter that I can run with my receivers. I have a Sony UHF block in the truck, but I didn't want to mount a Sony receiver and the Electro receiver on the camera. You can see here the Rode's up by the shotgun mic. It's just a little easier and quick to deploy. And I did the structured interviews on the Electro with the Sanken mic. Man, that thing sounds so much better than the Rode's. Repositioned from downtown Dallas to Allen, Texas. We actually shot components for 2 different packages. These run on a weekly newscast, EWTN In-Depth. So this is up in Allen, Texas. Interviews for the package you'll see coming up. And I will, once it airs, I'll put the second package in upcoming video. I've completed a few assignments with the new side plate at the rear of the camera. I like having the Electro back there. I kind of forget it's on the camera. I'm not noticing any extra weight on my shoulder or hand carrying. And then the OC monitor mounted on the same rear plate. I like that the monitor auto flips, so I can just pivot the monitor over the camera or off to the side here based on shoulder or tripod.
From inner city streets in Washington or Chicago to places you'd never expect.
This man had decided to go in and start just shooting families very randomly at a mall, and it's a mall that my family often goes to.
We spoke with Adriana Lewin a couple weeks after the city of Allen, Texas was shocked by a mass shooting. In early May, a gunman killed 8 people inside an outlet mall here. Not far from the mall, parishioners at St. Jude Catholic Church are grateful no one in their church community was harmed. But Lewin, a parishioner and professional counselor, is trying to help those coping with the nearby tragedy.
They're still dealing with the anxiety, not being able to sleep. I've had people say like they're very nauseated, they haven't eaten meals for over a week.
We've seen it in schools, churches, or shopping malls like this one in Allen, Texas. Scenes of mass murder leaving so many questions behind. Why did it happen, and what's next?
But the first action and the strongest action is prayer. It's the only thing that will give us peace in our heart.
Deacon Robert Holliday addressed the St. Jude congregation during a mass for healing after the murders in Allen. He says what's next begins right here.
We needed to lean on Jesus and let him be our comfort and pray that everybody turns away from the violence and the hatred.
San Antonio, south side. Actually own a house nearby. Maybe a little bit more rough side of town, run down old houses, lower income. Some of these places are like kind of shocking that folks are living in them vacant lots with residents. That one looks like it's got a shop in the back. Having remodeled a few houses in this town, the city makes it so prohibitive and difficult to make improvements. Like if you got electrical issues, like this house, for example, where the riser is below the roof, previous building code. If you want to just update the entrance, they're probably going to make you rewire the entire house to bring the whole entire house up to current code. Same for plumbing. You want to swap out a sink, and you're going to end up having to replumb the whole house. Hey, buddy. Hi. So unfortunately, a lot of these houses just sit and decay, or they go under the radar without permits or improvements. Like, look at that. You get that vent stack, cast pipe, shifting and peeling away, and all that rotten plywood behind it. All right, I set the whole neighborhood off. So today I'm working south side, obviously. Lackland Air Force Base is just down the street. I got a bigger crew. I have a team of 4 that I hired, and very restricted. I'm limited on what I can capture. I can't vlog. I'll wait till I get past these dogs. But we rented some telephoto lenses to get some shots. I've got I think it's a 200 to 600 for my FX9 coming in today. I didn't buy it, it's rental. And yeah, looking forward to shooting that. It's gonna be a short day. We start at 10:30 and we have a hard out at 1400. So I got the camera prepped. It's just a 1080 Cinetone day. Passed off my audio kit to Eric, who's running sound today, so that he could get it all prepped last night. I got someone lighting coming in to light. We may do a couple quick interviews, but those are secondary to capturing some specific B-roll. And I gotta make my bed look a little more presentable before we get there. Scored some posters from last week, which is pretty cool. And I got the PBR. It's their 30th season, so they were passing out books to the crew. I'm looking forward to putting this on my coffee table. All right, 30 minutes early. I got my badge, escort required. I've been on the road for 4 weeks. You know, I get a couple days off at home, but I've been just living in hotels and Airbnbs, breaking my own rules again. I didn't have an opportunity to tech the camera last night. I mean, I started at 5 a.m. driving in back to my house. It was a travel day. I went to the gym, and then I burned the entire afternoon prepping, running around town for the shoot. So I'm gonna do this right now that I have user files. I'm in news mode. I'm gonna switch to my non-news mode, Cinetone. And then I gotta change a few specs because this is not the exact specs for this project. All right, so this one is going to be 1080, 2997, progressive. So 2997, gotta reboot again. We're gonna shoot AVCI and execute. And the next setting is 1080. Let me double check my settings again. 2997, AVCI, 1080. We should be in SDR, and our paint settings and gamma and all that should be Cinetone. Oh, it's not, because I have to change the scene file to Cinetone. Scene file. load, Cinetone, execute. We'll go alpha 1. I don't care about file numbers. We don't need to update that. So we'll format. And then next up, I removed my Electro dual channel receiver from the side plate. I'm going to add the Paralinx transmitter so I can beam to my 7-inch, and maybe I'll set up the 21. I don't know, I'm gonna wait and see. San Antonio, Texas considers itself Military City, USA, and that's because there are 4 major military bases in town: Randolph Air Force Base, Fort Sam Houston, Lackland Air Force Base, and Camp Bullis. I actually live quite close to Bullis, and we frequently hear artillery and other small arms fire during training exercises off in the distance, and we also get overflown by various military aircraft frequently. And Lackland Air Force Base is home to basic training for the U.S. Air Force. All of this proximity to the military has ignited an interest for my son in service, which I'm very excited about. I, now in my 40s, actually into my maybe mid-30s, regret not serving right out of high school. When I was a kid, I wanted to enlist in the U.S. Coast Guard, and then kind of got distracted with filmmaking, cameras, and broadcast TV, and went in a different direction. But yeah, I wish I'd done it and put in at least 4 years, giving myself a little time versus going straight into a liberal arts filmmaking degree and getting very deep in debt and getting myself in a financial situation where I could not finish college and had to start working. I would have been fine to have gone out of high school right into a job and probably landed right where I'm at now, or better yet, enlisted and served my country for a bit. So with that said, Air Force just released a press release, dateline May 31. Air Force kicks off radar modernization for the B-52 Stratofortress fleet. B-52, initial design 1952, and Air Force is planning to keep it in service all the way through 2050. So a 98-year service history. Pretty cool. They got some photos here. Let's check them out. There's the cockpit, some 1950s technology, still going strong. I know there's been numerous updates over the decades. And there was a second photo there. Yeah, check that out. Taxiing, chute deployed, must have just landed. Now, if I were that photographer, I bet I would have used something similar to a 28 to 600 millimeter lens on a full frame sensor. I wonder if they have some video up there to go with that still. Looks like no. Some more details on this photo. Image is public domain. No camera details available. And DoD's released it in compliance with the guidelines found here. Let's take a look at the usage. Looks like we can use this in my vlog. Feel free to pause the video here should you want to read through the disclaimer. But it's pretty neat. I wish they had some video up there to check out. Next assignment, I got my son on the crew, working utility, helped set up lights at this remote guest live interview, and then managing batteries. This was a private residence, public figure. Didn't seem appropriate to vlog. I want to respect people's privacy, especially when they're in the public eye. So I'm excited to have my son working. He's now 16. Added him to he's on payroll, workers' comp, covered by my other business insurance, and we've got a commercial coming up out of state. Looking forward to the road trip with him, and we're going to try to bookend it with some camping time up in the Colorado Rockies, and I'll be vlogging about that in an upcoming video. That's where the second charger. All right, so the remote for the A block of a 1-hour show. Our guest, we fed for 12 or 15 minutes. We were on air, and I want you to note here just the color tone on studio camera. Here's some tape playback with a guest that's coming up in my live shot from a Meet the Press interview on NBC. Just kind of memorize, if best you can. I'll do a split screen coming up, but the color, tint, and skin tones here. And then we're going to go back to the studio, and you notice Chris's skin tones are maybe a little more magenta, as well as I think the paint shading on the studio cams in New York are also favoring the magenta side. And then here's my live shot, and once again I'm looking green. So this is my new work in progress semi-custom paint settings, which are better than what I was getting with Cinetone. I got better color sat and better blacks, but I'm still favoring a little bit on the green side. My background's a bit dark. I wish I had a couple of Fresnels with me to just put a couple hot spots on that bookcase and that dark blue wall in the background. I actually there was some overhead lighting. That's a dining room area in the back frame right, but it just wasn't reading. I had my key lights dimmed almost to minimum. Everything's a 3200 color balance, which I'm also learning with the FX9. I think when you're in 3200 color, it tends to go more green than it does with daylight sources. Now I know the CRI of my lights will have an effect there, but I've had good results with these panels with other cameras, so this has been kind of unique to this specific FX platform. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do coming up is, well, hold on, let's look at some split screens. Okay, so my shot, FX9 upper right, I white balanced 3 times with a white card, completely filling frame, auto white balance in the guest chair with my key and fill light sources hitting it. And yeah, I prefer the other two subjects, color balance and skin tone, much over mine. I like actually the bottom, the meet the press shot, the best. So on site with my OC monitor and the Sony EVF, it was not this green. So I also did an in-camera record. So let's add that box up here and see if the colors are any different than the off-air. Bottom right is an in-camera record, top right off-air return. And yeah, I'd say the tint and white balance is about the same. Contrast is very similar. So that's good. That rules out the live view and signal chain back at the studio as being a possible compatibility issue. I was a little bit worried that maybe the SDI spec on the live view unit was a little bit different than the camera. Yeah, and I guess my judgment on color with the 2 onboard monitors is also a little flawed. Bottom right now has +6 magenta on the tint value. This is in Final Cut 3-way color corrector. I think that's a little bit closer in proper skin tone, although I still don't love the overall skin tone color science on our subject compared to the bottom left box from NBC. Based on what I'm learning here, I'm going to make one change before my next live, and that's in the white offset menu on the FX9. I'm going to plus a little bit of magenta, like +2, maybe +4 or 5, so that when I shoot a white card auto white balance, it's then going to add in a layer of plus magenta to the overall picture tone, and we'll see how that looks off air and analyze it in an upcoming video. If you have any additional insight or advice for me or suggestions on things to try to get a little bit better broadcast ready out the SDI pipe on the FX9, boy, I would love to hear it. One final debrief to myself on this assignment. My framing's a little bit too tight. You can see here I'm chopping shoulders in this split compared to the studio frame size. So the assignment desk provided to me the bridge number to call into the control room in New York. I dialed in about 10 minutes before our hit, which was just the timing of when I got to the point when I was ready to make that call. And I think I had the wrong number because I just got on hold music. I never got through to control. And then at that point we were hot, and I have a return path on my iPhone, but it's got about a 20-second delay, I'm guessing. And I didn't know when we were going to switch away to give me an opportunity to pull out a little bit. So it was a lock off for the duration, which was about 12 or 15 minutes of air. And that was the extent of the content on this assignment. I'm looking forward to another one. I'm going to have better color, better composition, and better comms. All right, that's going to wrap this one up. This was 2 weeks of assignments, and right now narrating this live the week I'm in, I have the whole week off. So I'm not sure what I'm going to publish next week. And then I go on the road. We're traveling up to Montana, road trip and production. They were going to fly me, but bringing my son along. And like I mentioned earlier, we're going to use it as an opportunity to see some parts of the country I haven't seen before. I'll share that with you in an upcoming video, but it's going to be a few weeks from now. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't know what I'm going to publish next week. It may be a week off, or I'll come up with some kind of business talking head thing at my kitchen table. If there's something on the business side you're curious about that you want me to answer in a talking head format, hey, let me know, because yeah, I'm hurting for material for next week. Appreciate all the feedback and views. I've had a lot of wonderful correspondence in the comments field, as well as direct communication. Seem to have a nice mix of peers in this space, both in broadcast, commercial, and the entertainment side, as well as folks earlier on in their careers or aspiring to go into the media field as a freelancer or staff. So yeah, please keep the feedback coming. Really enjoying all this communication, and it's keeping me motivated to continue to vlog. Thank you, and see you on the next one.